Let's go.
You could have been anywhere in the YouTube world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. Welcome to Zay Reviews. And this has been a rough road to WrestleMania. Over the years, these WrestleMania builds have been kind of iffy, and this year's been no different. So this episode takes place in Chicago, Illinois, big pro wrestling city. Whenever AEW comes through, Chicago, man, they show out. But tonight for Monday Night Raw, WWE, the crowd was, on and off. And the show started off with a very positive on, or so we thought. So we hear glass shatter, and you already know what that means. Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme song hits, the crowd goes crazy. However, it ends up being Kevin Owens coming out with the bald man skull cap. Throwing the crowd off. Everybody was pretty pissed about that. Kevin Owens pretty much comes out and says, I'm going to embarrass Stone Cold Steve Austin. He hasn't wrestled in almost 20 years. His beer sucks. He then goes to motion to the dude on the outside so the dude could throw him some beers. And as he tries to catch the beers, he kept dropping the beers. So he tells the dude to come inside the ring. Clearly you can't throw a correct beer. And of course, all dude man got was a stunner for his troubles. Kevin Owens began to mock Stone Cold even further by attempting to drink the beer, but instead just pouring it on out because it's Stone Cold Steve Austin's IPA, and he was saying how his IPA sucks. But just a little bit more build for the segment that they are going to have at WrestleMania Saturday. Next, we get a quick recap of last week as they covered the match between Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. Showed that Kevin Owens got the win over Seth and how upset Seth was that he once again lost his opportunity to perform at WrestleMania. So we pan backstage and Seth Rollins is being interviewed. He stares off into the distance, and out of nowhere he just begins to smile and laugh as the interviewer asked him, what are you going to do for WrestleMania? So Seth Rollins takes the mic, he says, I'm going to need this, and he dips off out the frame. So for the first match of the night, we get the team of Rey and Dominic Mysterio going up against the Dirty Dogs, Robert Roode and the new NXT champion, Dolph Ziggler. Now during the match, Seth Rollins would interfere, come out with the microphone in hand and says, I will have my WrestleMania moment, throws everybody off, cuts the commercial, and then we come back and we resume the match between the Mysterios and the Dirty Dogs. The match will come to its end as Dominic Mysterio would hit Robert Roode with the frog splash, 1, 2, 3. The Mysterios get the win. Now we do get a little post-match beatdown when Rey Mysterio decided to chase Dolph Ziggler to the outside of the ring. The Miz would cut off Rey Mysterio. The Miz would hit his finishing move, the skull crushing finale, and afterwards he would remove the mask of Rey Mysterio. Of course, this will lead to Dominic running down to his father's aid, throwing a towel over his head so nobody could see his face. As the Miz is exiting the arena with Rey's mask, he says that Logan Paul will show up next week on Monday Night Raw, and Logan will be wearing Rey Mysterio's mask in the middle of the ring. After we get a quick recap of the events that went down on SmackDown between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, we get a handicap match as Omos takes on the team of Aziz and Apollo Crews. And I knew just looking at this that somehow Omos was definitely going to win this match. And it doesn't look good for Aziz and Apollo. Just in the previous week, Aziz was looking like Omos's equal, and now he can't even win a match with somebody by his side. So imagine how weak that makes Aziz and Apollo look. Omos does get this victory. He pulls a Roman Reigns and stacks both opponents on top of each other and pins the both of them. It was kind of awkward at first because one of the shoulders was still up and the ref had to stop Omos like, hey, yo, shoulder, I can't count yet. So a couple awkward seconds went by, but Omos did get the victory. After the win, he did take to the microphone to say, hey, if anybody wants to step up, it doesn't matter how many people it is, it doesn't matter who you are. Step up, take the challenge, what's up? So I don't know what they're going to do with Omos at WrestleMania, but I wonder if anyone's going to step up and take his challenge. Maybe it's Veer. Next, we get an in-ring segment by AJ Styles. Your boy AJ Styles is back after Edge attacked him a couple weeks ago. As he's breaking down how he felt about the whole thing, AJ Styles get interrupted by Seth Rollins. Yes, Seth Rollins once again interrupting somebody, and Seth once again trying to weasel his way into somebody else's WrestleMania match. He goes, hey, look, AJ, you don't need this match. You should go home, be with your family, continue to nurse your injuries. You can't be 100%. Just go home. let me go to WrestleMania. Let me face Edge. Let me finish the job that I didn't get to finish back at Hell in a Cell when me and Edge was going through our little rivalry. I was like, no, what are you doing? No, I'm not Kevin Owens, bro. I see what you're trying to pull. You're not about to take my match. And of course, the two best general managers on the planet, Sonya Deville, Adam Pearce, they make a match official. Now you have Seth versus AJ Styles. Whoever wins this match is going to take on Edge at WrestleMania. Now, I called it last week. I told you that WWE was going to stretch this whole Cody thing as long as they can to get their ratings up. Now, after tonight's episode of Raw, we have one more episode of Raw before WrestleMania. So they either got next week or the night of. Next, we get a backstage segment with the women's tag team champions, Zelina Vega and Carmella. Zelina is pissed off at Carmella and her lack of attention towards their tag team championships, and Carmella just being distracted with this whole thing with Corey Graves and their YouTube series. Zelina's pissed that their triple threat tag team match has now become a fatal four-way tag team match at WrestleMania. And Zelina's like, yo, you really gotta get your head in the game. I'm tired of you. Clearly, Carmella was ignoring Zelina. This pissed Zelina off. Zelina took Carmella's phone, hurled it across the backstage room. Carmella was not feeling that. She decided to slap Zelina. They get into a little backstage scuffle, and it seems like there's trouble in paradise when it comes to the women's tag team champions. But next, we do cut over to the ring, and we get a tag team match between the two other teams that will be participating in that fatal four-way WrestleMania match. We have Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan going up against the team of Natalya and Shayna Baszler. Now, not too long after the opening bell, Carmella would come down to ringside as Corey Graves is on commentary. Carmella is crying and complaining to Corey that Zelina, called her ugly, and they had got to a fight. And this, of course, distracts Corey from commentating. It distracts Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan for some reason. But Shayna Baszler, Natalya, they didn't care. Team of Natalya and Shayna Baszler would win as they pay a little ode, a little homage to the Hart Foundation. They would use the Heart Attack double team to win this match. Now, after the match, we do get a very interesting post-match beatdown as Natalya and Shayna Baszler are ringside celebrating their victory. In the ring, you have Rhea Ripley still confused about what just went down. As Rhea Ripley's being distracted, Zelina Vega will come down and attack Rhea and Liv with her Queen Scepter. On the outside of the ring, you have Carmella beating up on Natalya and Shayna Baszler. Then we get back inside the ring with the women's tag team champions. And you think Zelina and Carmella, they're about to throw down again. But nope, turns out it was just all one big trap. But it's weird. They could have definitely trapped them without fighting each other. But whatever. This night was one big mess. I'm so sorry that Chicago had to sit through that live. I'm so sorry. Next, we get an in-ring segment from the Raw Women's Champion, Becky Lynch. So throughout the promo, Becky Lynch would say this line over and over again. What does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul? She then would go on to say how the Raw Women's Championship means the world to her, and how Bianca Belair kind of ruined her world when the fans decided to pick Bianca over her when she made her return last summer. She also says that what she did to Bianca last week was eye for an eye and throat for a throat. Now, Becky Lynch does go back to the saying, what does it profit a man to gain the world but lose his soul? She also makes the correlation of the Raw Women's Championship being her world and Bianca Belair's hair being her identity, being her soul. Now, I thought that she was going to propose that the Raw Women's Championship match would be title versus hair, but I highly doubt that WWE would do something like that. It'll be a lot of backlash if they do anything involving Bianca's hair for reasons I shouldn't have to elaborate on. Next, we get a match between Austin Theory and Finn Balor. Since Austin Theory did get involved in Finn Balor's match in the previous week, it doesn't shock me that we get another one-on-one contest between these two. The match was pretty quick after some ringside shenanigans and Pat McAfee causing a couple of distractions. Finn Balor would pick up the W, continuing the friction between Pat McAfee and Austin Theory. And we're definitely going to get a pretty interesting WrestleMania match between the two. Austin Theory with his antics, and Pat McAfee, if you ever seen him actually wrestle, he could work. Go back and watch the match that he had with Adam Cole. It was pretty good. Next, we get a tag team match between the Raw Tag Team Champions Team RK Bro and Alpha Academy. Chad Gable coming out, taking the mic. He is so funny with Otis. Of course, he says shoosh a bunch of times. He called Otis. he said, never mind Batman. Otis is the new face of vengeance. Look, listen, Chad Gable's a funny dude. But the American Alpha will take this L as the new Raw Tag Team Champions. RK Bro would win this match. Matt Riddle hitting the bro Derek on Chad Gable, getting the 1-2-3. Afterwards, Otis tried to run down on both of them and tried to beat both of them up, but the Street Profits would come down to the aid of Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. However, after coming to their aid, the Street Profits would jump Matt Riddle, and Riddle would get hit with the From the Heavens Frog Splash. Hey, look, Montez Ford, best frog splash in the game right now. So we get a mixed tag team tornado match. We have Dana Brooke and Reggie going up against the team of Akira Tozawa and Tamina Snuka. I want to say this match was about 1:30. They did this odd thing where each team had their partner on their shoulders, and they did, you know, the little swimming pool thing when the people box on top of each other's shoulders. I don't know. It was a bad segment. I didn't even catch how the finish went down because the finish happened in picture. So as we're watching the replay, Reggie pins Akira. I don't know. It was quick. The commentary didn't even know what was going on because one of the commentators thought that it was for the 24/7 championship, and it wasn't. It was just a bad segment. It was very sports entertainment like, and it was in front of Chicago, man. I know they was tight. Then we get the main event of the night. It was made earlier in the night. Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, the winner takes on Edge at WrestleMania. As far as their match on this episode of Monday Night Raw is concerned, it was mid. It came down to a non-finish as your boy Edge would interfere in this match and hit AJ Styles over and over again with a steel chair, causing a disqualification. AJ Styles wins by DQ. Seth takes another L, and he once again loses his opportunity to be a part of the most stupendous WrestleMania of all time. So naturally, the boy loses it. He flips over the announce table. He breaks down a couple pieces of the barricade. He takes to the mic and says, "This is BS." The crowd breaks off and Cody chants again, and that's how we end the night. Oh man, it made sense. Raw took place in the Midwest, and the episode was a mid-ass episode. This episode was trash. We got one more episode left before WrestleMania, and they got to pull some teeth next week. Hopefully we get Cody. So that was my review for this week's installment of Monday Night Raw. If you haven't already done so, make sure that you like, comment, share, subscribe, turn the notifications on, engage people. Till next time, peace. Be close to WrestleMania.